Another huge match has been added to AEW All Out, and another Velveteen Dream arrest has surfaced. But first, FTR have given their thoughts on recent CM Punk backstage rumors. Over recent weeks, reports have emerged that CM Punk is causing backstage morale issues, with some feeling that he was ready to quit AEW due to his own unhappiness. With that said, there's always two sides to every story, with him said to have friends in the locker room despite there being individuals that are unhappy with his presence, individuals that have taken to the dirt sheets to tell their side of the story. This week, appearing in an interview with Stephen Mulhausen, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, collectively known as FTR, would speak on the CM Punk situation, revealing that some of the stories that have emerged are based on old biases and underlying animosity. Cash would add that for them, Punk couldn't have been more inviting and said, "He couldn't be more company-oriented as far as what he's thinking, and anything to the contrary, I really think it's uneducated to go off of it because there's only been one side, and that's all been the negative stuff. He's been nothing but a great person, a great mentor to a lot of guys here, somebody who wants the best for the company." Dax would then take over and reveal that he feels insecurity has led to certain members of the roster leaking stories and said, "And insecurity, I'm not going to speak much on it because all that was perfectly put, but I'll tell you this, what's the better headline? CM Punk goes into business for himself and shoots on somebody, or CM Punk invites Will Hobbs into his locker room and explains to him for 30 minutes what he could have done to better himself for the match earlier." Or if the headline says CM Punk goes to Danhausen, who came to him and asked for advice, watched his match, and CM Punk gave him notes of advice on what he could do to better the match next time. Or if Brock Anderson says, "Hey, do you mind watching our tag match tonight?" CM Punk sits there even though he's got a busy night and watches it and says, "Hey, come into my locker room. Anybody else want to come into my locker room? Let's talk about this." Dax would then call for the negative part of the locker room to look at the benefits of having Punk in the company and added, "He made something of himself, let me work with him, and even if he's beating me, let me work with him, and that'll put me as a bigger star. That was my whole mindset going into the match. Punk let me call the whole match, but I knew just wrestling myself, Dax Harwood, with just wrestling a legend like CM Punk puts me from here to here." Whilst there are wrestlers in the locker room that have issues with Punk, there are clearly some that are taking advantage of his presence. Whilst at the same time, there are some who have publicly said that they don't like taking advice from the likes of CM Punk and Sting, which seems to be a factor in this ongoing backstage civil war, as well as disagreements on the treatment of Colt Cabana. Next up, a former champion has left Lucha Libre AAA. Fabi Apache is one of the most successful luchadoras in the history of AAA, being a former 4-time AAA Reina del Reinas champion, a 3-time Trios champion, and a 4-time World Mixed Tag Team champion. This week, she would take to Instagram to announce her departure from the company after 23 years. This just 2 weeks after saying that she was out of the company before backtracking on her statement. It seems that this time her decision is final, at least I think so. In recent years, outside of AAA, Fabi has competed in both Impact Wrestling and AEW, working 2 Impact matches in 2018, appearing in the Casino Battle Royal at AEW All Out 2019, before falling short in a match for the AAA Reina del Reinas title at the recent Impact Wrestling Multiverse of Matches, losing to Deonna Purrazzo. She last wrestled for AAA in May 2022 and has since worked with United States-based indies in California and Colorado, perhaps a sign of things to come. Former AEW Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa recently expressed her interest in a match with Apache, something we could perhaps see happen soon. Next, how have the USA Network reacted to recent changes in WWE? In recent months, WWE have undergone major changes, with former chairman and CEO Vince McMahon stepping down from all duties, with Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan now acting as co-CEOs, with Triple H taking the reins as head of creative. The new landscape has led to increased interest in WWE's product, with many lapsed fans hopeful that improvements will be made under the new regime. In a recent report from Fightful Select, several USA Network and NBC Universal sources shared their happiness with the recent bump in ratings for Monday Night Raw, with numbers returning back to expectations pre-pandemic. One source noted that they never imagined a world where Raw would be back to over 2 million viewers on a regular basis, something that has happened throughout the month of August. One source praised the show for being appointment viewing, adding that it felt more natural, and there's more discussions about the show within the company than there has been since the new rights deal started. A long-time employee in the USA USA Network said that many in the company were happy with the creative changes implemented by Triple H, with that same source indicating that they'd be surprised if the USA Network didn't make a play to renew WWE programming next year when negotiations are likely to start, and they believe that WWE has put themselves in an even better position in the last month. It's clear from the report that the new management structure in WWE is working well in the corporate world as well as amongst wrestling fans, and hopefully the old phrase of a rising tide lifts all boats means that this will also have a positive impact on the wrestling business as a whole. Next up, Darby Allin revealed how he was able to sign for All Elite Wrestling. Darby Allin has been with AEW since April 12, 2019, with him considered as one of the 4 pillars of the company. Prior to becoming All Elite, Allin worked for multiple promotions around the world, including Evolve Wrestling, a promotion that he was under contract with. This week, appearing on the DDP Snake Pit podcast with hosts Diamond Dallas Page and Jake the Snake Roberts, Darby would reveal how he managed to get out of his contract in order to get where he wanted to be, and he would say, "At the time I was signed with another little promotion, and then the moment I heard that Cody was interested, long story short, I paid $12,000 to get out of my contract. I took a loan out, and then I remember I used to hit Cody up every day, just blowing his phone up. I just heard there was this new company starting up, and then this is before TV was even talked about. I was like, this is crazy. All I heard when they were promoting it was the word creative freedom, and I was like, that's where I need to be." Darby would also reveal that he was being groomed for NXT, with Evolve working as a feeder to WWE's developmental at the time, with him having no plans on following that path, and he would add, "At the time I was kind of being groomed to go to NXT, and I saw the writing on the wall. This was back when 205 Live was a thing, if you remember 205 Live, and I was like, hell fucking no, I'm not going there to do that. It was a feeling I had that I had to go to AEW, I was just so drawn to it." In 2019, after Allin joined AEW, Evolve would be sold to WWE, with their shows now airing on the WWE Network and Peacock, with many of their stars being signed to developmental contracts in the end. As for Allin, he went on to become AEW TNT champion, now sitting under the learning tree of the icon Sting, whilst also having worked CM Punk's first match back in wrestling after a 7-year hiatus. It's safe to say that he made the right choice back in 2019, with him likely have gone on to become a casualty of the recent 205 Live releases had he chose a different path. And next, another match has been added to AEW All Out. Until last night, 9 matches had been announced for the upcoming All Elite Wrestling pay-per-view, and now a 10th match has been added, this time to the 0-hour pre-show. Following his recent suspension after a backstage altercation with his original All Out opponent Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston will now find himself across the ring from New Japan Pro Wrestling star Tomohiro Ishii, a match that will be hard-hitting, to say the least. The announcement confirms that the backstage incident did lead to the original match with Guevara being cancelled, with some still unsure if it was part of an elaborate work via the dirt sheets. This will be the second time Ishii and Kingston have gone one-on-one, with them meeting back in May at the New Japan Capital Collision event in Washington DC, where Ishii would walk away with the victory after 16 minutes. The match will air for free prior to the pay-per-view this Sunday, with more matches expected to be added or moved to the 0-hour show as we get closer to the weekend. And finally, another Velveteen Dream arrest has surfaced. In last night's video, we discussed a story regarding Patrick Clark, formerly known as the Velveteen Dream in WWE, who was arrested on Friday, August 26th in Florida on charges of possession of drug paraphernalia. On top of this, a second arrest would take place 6 days earlier, on Saturday, August 20th, with him held on charges of first-degree battery and trespassing on property after a warning, for which he was bonded out on August 22nd for $1,200, pleading not guilty. A third arrest has now been discovered, with him said to have been arrested in November 2021, charged with possession of cocaine, use and possession of drug paraphernalia, destroying/altering/concealing physical evidence, and having no lamps or illuminating devices in his vehicle. This one is said to have been linked to his more recent arrest. On top of this, on April 21st, Clark was sentenced to 12 months probation due to this November arrest, and the August 20th arrest took place 4 months into that 12-month sentence. This is likely the reason for him being arrested again on August 26th. It was also revealed that following his August 26th arrest, his $1,200 bond was paid for by current WWE star Ashante the Adonis of Hit Row, real name Tahuti Miles. Clark is scheduled to appear in court today on August 21st after being transferred from Orange County Jail to the Seminole County Sheriff's Department. As mentioned yesterday, this news has broken just days after his attempt at a social media campaign to bring him back to WWE. This after he was released on May 20th, 2021, following allegations of sending indecent images to underage boys, allegations that led to a fan campaign to get him fired. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 wrestlers you forgot wrestled in AEW.